The last few weeks of pregnancy are the weeks during which not only does a baby take on a lot of weight and a lot of fat, which is extremely important for their ability to maintain and control their own body temperatures, but that's when their lungs mature. So think about it. When they're inside your womb, their lungs aren't doing anything at all. They're on a break. And so is their digestive system for that matter. And so those last few weeks is when the lungs start to completely mature and be ready to actually do the important job of actually breathing. And so what usually happens if you let a baby come out when he's ready is when his lungs are fully developed and they're ready, they will start producing a surfactant. And within that surfactant basically coats the inside of the alveoli in the lungs to allow it to actually expand and not stick together when air enters, which is, kind of important. When the baby's lungs starts producing this surfactant, it includes a certain protein, which I will not start mentioning the code names of these proteins because it's not pertinent, but this protein actually alerts the woman's body that the baby is ready to be born. And in response, the woman's body will start creating prostaglandins that will soften the cervix and start producing more oxytocin, which will bind to receptors on the woman's uterus, which will start contracting. And the whole thing is this beautiful cascade of hormones and proteins and what have you that then brings on the birth of the baby at the perfect time. However, if we are deciding that because we have this miraculous drug called Pitocin, that we can decide that baby's born on this day, we might actually be pulling that baby out long before his lungs are ready to function. And so what we end up seeing is, oh, well, thank God I was induced, because when my baby came out, he wasn't able to breathe and he had to be put into the NICU and his digestive system didn't work either. So he had to be put on an NG tube, and God only knows what would have happened if my baby had stayed in just 3 more days. Well, perhaps your baby's lungs would have finished, maturing, and perhaps his digestive system would have finished maturing, and all this would have been avoided, because in reality, what happened is the baby was born premature. A baby can be premature at 39 weeks. If your pregnancy is supposed to be 42 weeks, well, 39 weeks is 3 weeks ahead. That's 37 weeks. And yeah, we say that a baby is no longer preterm at 37 weeks. But if you've attended a lot of births, you know that if a baby is born at 37 weeks because he's forced out, usually they aren't quite at term. They aren't quite ready. And oftentimes, some women have short pregnancies, and 37 weeks is, their approximate due date, and that's fine, although that's fairly rare. But usually what we tend to notice, especially in a first-time mom, a baby is born on its own at 37 weeks, it's usually because there's something wrong. It's usually because there's something wrong with the baby or the placenta or anything like that, and the body had the wisdom of noticing that the womb was no longer a safe place for the baby, and so brought on labor so that the baby would be born, because our bodies are that smart. Our bodies are often able to notice when there's something wrong and to say, okay, baby needs to come out. He's going to do better, outside. And so we need to push for the baby to be born. Beyond that, there's the thing where we have to notice that all our babies are actually born 3 months early as humans. Because if you look at babies in any different, animal, within a few weeks, within a few days, within a few hours, the babies are walking, they're running, they can actually bring themselves to food or their mother's nipples, etc. Our babies, on the other hand, aren't able to do much when they're born. And one of the reasons that have been advanced as to why is we have a very developed neocortex, and so the portion of the brain that's responsible for rational thinking, language, as well as social interactions. And this has caused us to have big heads. And so in order to prevent difficulties in childbirth, we postulate that our babies are born about 3 months before they should actually be born so that we can actually birth them without any trouble. So if your babies are already technically 3 months premature, and then you go and tack on 3 weeks, 2 weeks of prematurity, it's not great. The other thing is, especially with first-time moms, I see Carly post this all the time in the mom groups. A first-time mom is approaching 40 weeks and her doctor's already talking about inductions. And here's the thing. Your average first-time mom, on average, which means the norm, which means most first-time moms, will go to 41 weeks and 6 days. 41 weeks and 6 days.
Oh, it's 6? I thought it was 3.
You might be right. It might be 3 days. I think depending on where you look, it's 3 days or 6 days, but it's 41 weeks and 2 days, right?
We've seen the averages with the inductions too.
Exactly. And so we're basically telling first-time moms, oh, well, goodness sake, your baby isn't born at 40 weeks. Something's wrong with your body. You're not functioning right. I mean, we need to pull that baby out. Well, no, actually, she's a first-time mom. Her body needs a little bit more time to actually get there, and perhaps we should give her more time.